So this past week has been a crazy one in regards to Ubisoft, especially because Assassin's Creed Shadows is being delayed till February. But now there's a rumor, according to YouTuber Endymion, who's saying he spoke with people that have worked with Ubisoft and that it could possibly be delayed even further. Now, yesterday we talked about how there's rumors going around that it's a buggy mess that's even worse than Star Wars Outlaws. And it seems like day by day, all sorts of new juice is coming out about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, let's take all of this with a grain of salt. It's all alleged, it's all rumors. Who knows? Nothing has been completely verified at this point, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if any of this is true. Ubisoft stock is at an all-time decade low. Star Wars Outlaws underperformed. There's a rumor that it sold only 1 million copies since launch. Yikes. On top of that, there's a board of investigation going on at Ubisoft. And Assassin's Creed is just all over the place, guys. So who knows? I'm going to lean towards I believe this. So Endymion said that all these people have worked with the company in the past, and they're claiming that this game could be delayed even further. We also saw that rumor that, according to them, they might be reducing Yasuke's role or even removing it completely. I don't see that happening unless it does get delayed further. If it gets delayed past February, then yeah, I could see that happening. But now there's a big rumor, a big expose that if this is true, holy crap, they're saying that the game originally featured a male protagonist that was Japanese instead of Yasuke. So Yasuke has been the topic of a controversy for quite some time. We've seen the petition from Japanese gamers. We've seen that this has gone to the Japanese government. If they purposely pandered to get DEI in there with Yasuke over a original Japanese male protagonist, that's a big fucking yike. So according to Endymion, he said, my source told me that they heard February 2025 is simply a placeholder release date as of now. Apparently, this is because Ubisoft is scrambling and they need certain key talent in order to assist on a Q2 game release, which if you don't know what that means, there's 4 quarters to a calendar year. So Q2 means Ubisoft has something that they think will hit that is coming out later in the year that they need help on. So because talent at the studio is working to make that future release come out more smoothly, Shadows is not being given the extra hands it kind of needs right now. So interesting right here. So he's saying the release date may actually be pushed back even further. Then they revealed about the source telling them about the original protagonist. I was also told when they originally saw the game, there was indeed a male Japanese protagonist with their own finalized art and even animations. They don't know if this character will be reintroduced to replace Yasuke, but they are skeptical that Ubisoft will actually remove Yasuke altogether due to the whole political backlash they'll get from journalists and so on. Wow. So if that's the case, if there's a finalized protagonist that's Japanese in the game, animated and all, voiceovered and all, and they just removed him from the game to cater to Yasuke, that's very interesting. And they're not going to have to worry about backlash from the woke modern audience that they cater to. They're going to have to worry about backlash from every person. Now, continuing on, he shared details about the game, saying they did say that the game's first act is heavily story driven until it eventually opens up to your more traditional open world Ubisoft experience, and that the big hurdle there is if they were to remove Yasuke would be to practically change almost everything about Act 1, so to speak, if they were to remove the character entirely. So could they remove Yasuke with this already done but thrown aside Japanese character? It's a big maybe, but they said that they weren't sure of it yet. They also told me they heard rumblings that Sweet Baby Inc. may have had a hand in Shadows, but they can't confirm that 100% yet, so take that allegation with a huge big fat shot of skepticism right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Sweet Baby had some kind of hand, or at least some consulting company that all these wokies are trying to infect the gaming industry with. And we've seen Ubisoft in recent times. They're going definite woke, which is why they're having so much trouble. Now, apparently, according to this, when the Japanese male protagonist was sidelined, it said they were swapped sometime during 2020, according to their source for Yasuke. And the reason why they chose Yasuke is that Ubisoft was heavily influenced by the socio-political events of the time with stuff like George Floyd, wow, the riots and Black Lives Matter basically becoming like huge in support during that time period. So if this is to be true, and it's again, this is all allegations. If this is true, if Ubisoft did that to pander to all that, to pander to identity politics because of Black Lives Matter, because of George Floyd, that is sad. That is sad. This modern audience that they try to get points for, any company, you've seen it with Firewalk Studios, with Concord. You saw it with fucking Sony, with fucking, Concord as well. Sony and Firewalk Studios both contributed to that because they wanted to pander. Also with the people that made Dustborn, Red Thread Games. It's a mess. So for Ubisoft to be like, oh, let's put Yasuke in here because of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, you can go fuck yourself on that. So his source said that Ubisoft was horrified by the response of Yasuke from the fandom, that they were terrified of the backlash, and they actually thought including him would be a really big selling point for the game. They apparently believed by inserting Yasuke that they could garner and pander to a modern audience. And again, this modern audience doesn't come out. They don't support nothing. That's why it all fails. Now, going on, he said the thing that actually spooked Ubisoft more than anything else was how Japan reacted to the one-legged Torii Gate figurine. Remember, that's the merchandise product where Yasuke and Naoi are standing on a symbol of Nagasaki, getting the atom bomb dropped on them, yet these characters take place in Japan well before that ever happened. So this was something that we talked about the other day. It literally was a little figurine that had a one-legged Torii, which was in reference to Nagasaki. In bad taste. I think that was a big low. If they're really shocked about backlash from that, they're out of touch. And he went on to say this culturally devastating piece that proved Ubisoft was not adequate enough to make the game or really know anything about the time period led to the higher-ups admitting defeat and demanding that the game get a cultural do-over, if you will. They wanted things to be more authentic because the one-legged Torii Gate incident was so embarrassing and baffling that they didn't want anything else like that to happen again in their history. So that's I really think all this alleged stuff is actually legit. Who knows? It could be bullshit, but I'm leaning towards it. I mean, look how bad of a time Ubisoft has been having. Then they said Ubisoft chose February 2025 because Ubisoft believes there will be a AAA gaming drought around that time period. So they're hoping they could capitalize by releasing Shadows then instead of November, which was its original release date, even though there's plenty of games coming around that time, like Monster Hunter Wilds. So he said, makes him believe that Ubisoft will indeed push the game even further back than intended. He also shared that his sources informed him that the rap music, which was featured in early promotional video games for the game, is being removed from the final product. So if you remember that, during the combat, there was actual fight scenes where Yasuke is fighting with hip-hop music playing, which is like out of touch. Out of touch to that. So apparently Ubisoft brought out a questionnaire and they were unanimously told that the rap music was tonally wrong and completely unneeded, and that it was actually offensive that Ubisoft believed Yasuke needed a hip-hop battle theme in a game that was set well before such music existed and was only implemented because Yasuke is black. So I said that in my original video that was definitely wild that somebody approved that. And that if you're a Wokey and you're only saying it's cool because Yasuke is a person of color, you're a lot more tone deaf and self-aware than I would lead any of you guys to believe. I think most people that think all of this stuff is A-okay with DI don't know what real life is. This ain't real life, dog. Now, continuing on, apparently you're going to be removing dialogue from the game that would enrage players if they actually heard it. According to this article I'm reading, which just for full disclosure, I am reading an article from that park place that's going over all of this, saying I wasn't given concrete examples of what kind of dialogue, but the source assumed it may have been Yasuke saying some sort of socio-political pandering nonsense, like he was sold by white men or something like that. So they were going to do like hating white men and white people and things like that. Honestly, I'm glad they're supposedly going to remove that, because that would be utterly cringe. We already have to hear from gaming journalists and stuff how white men are bad and all this. So take all this with a grain of salt in regards to Yasuke possibly being removed, this Japanese male protagonist probably being brought back in. Who knows? But on top of that, there's an interesting article going around about Assassin's Creed Shadows only having about 7% of pre-ordered numbers that Valhalla did during this same time period. So when Valhalla came out, there was much more hype during this time period. That it's another allegation that Endymion saying that compared to it, 7% of pre-orders that Valhalla had. That is devastating. Ubisoft can't be happy with that. If that's an actual number that's going on. I personally liked Valhalla. I thought it was a great game. It had a lot of content in it. And this again is coming from Craig Skidmus, who Skidmus, I always say his name freaking wrong. But according to him, this is the insider that he's had that talks about all these pre-orders. He works at a big box store. So again, just like with Star Wars Outlaws and other games, he's saying his insider told him that as of this morning at their nationwide big box chain, Assassin's Creed Shadows has less than 800 pre-orders combined for Xbox and PS5 company wide. That have over 900 stores. That's less than one pre-order per a store. Fucking yikes. This came back in August. Right? Back in August. So according to this rumor that we're seeing right here, financial analyst Valent Renegade speculated that pre-order sales for Assassin's Creed Shadows were subpar, and one of the reasons why they chose to delay the game to February. That they're going to take the next 90 days to polish the game. So we're going to see what's going to happen here, guys. This is just like day by day, it seems like it's getting worse for Ubisoft, and I don't know what to do. If I was working for them, I would be worried about my job security. Anybody defending Ubisoft at this point is retarded or blind. There's a lot of wokies out there coping. I'm still gonna get the game because it's gonna be good. Honestly, the best thing that could happen is that they need to just own up to it, repolish it. I don't see them realistically taking Yasuke out. If they do have a protagonist that's complete, they could just plug him in and change Act 1. That's going to take way more than 3 months. So realistically speaking, you should have thought about this before you went woke. You honestly should have thought about this. So nobody's to blame but Ubisoft themselves. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you're brand new. Thank you so much, guys, for the support. As always, I'll see you on the next one.